Tuesday morning. Right now I'm picking up a load out of El Paso, Illinois, going back over to Mount Prospect. And I got this for a total of 500. I believe it's like 160 miles. It sat on there for a while. It started out at 400. After about an hour, it increased. The ship clerk was asking, was he safe to drive their fork truck onto the truck? I told him he was not. And he's gonna check and see if I'm able to pallet jack the stuff onto the truck. I'm sure we'll get it loaded, but just a rule of thumb, I never let them drive the fork trucks completely onto the truck. I did tell him that he could drive onto this plate, but not onto the wood. And even with the plate, that's kind of like messing with the suspension. But what I was explaining to him, once he get onto the wood, it starts to crack it up. Took right around 15 minutes to get loaded. One thing I was talking to the ship clerk about, and something that I advise you guys to pay attention to, is oftentimes these brokers will give a generic weight, say 7,500 pounds. But in all actuality, the load may be substantially lighter and in some instances heavier. We've seen on the podcast a broker saying, hey, I can add 2 skids extra weight to a truck as I please, as long as I requested a full truckload. I don't agree with that. If I book the load at 5,000 pounds, I charge you according to a 5,000 pound weight count. So if you add 2 skids, it's no longer 5,000 pounds, at which time I would have charged you more. So see, you just gotta kind of watch these brokers, their different practices and tactics. But I asked the ship clerk what he thought the weight on the freight was. Something I found interesting was he didn't really know. Now, I'm sure it's not 7,500 pounds. I don't even think it's 5,000 pounds. But kind of what I'm alerting you to is the fact that they use a generic weight on a lot of these loads, and you got to do your due diligence to find out what the exact weight is. I think a bunch of box truckers fail to pay attention to the weight and kind of take their word for it. You got to be careful with that. You find yourself rolling down the road and end up in a sticky situation. Yeah. be Sunday, October 12th, approximately 11:50 p.m. The run I'm picking up right now is going a total of 111 miles for a total payout of $500, $4.52 per mile. ROC called me about this load at approximately 9 p.m. The load was scheduled for pickup at 9:45. They asked if I could pick it up by 10:45. I advised them that the best I could do was 11:45 p.m., which they agreed to. They asked me what rate I could run it for. I told them $550. They told me the best they could do was $500. I got this same run earlier today for $530. So I decided to accept it for $500 even. In my opinion, a pretty good deal. And pertaining to the Prime Day sale, just being 100% honest with you, I am yet to see any substantial increase pertaining to rates on the spot relay load board. Now, I have seen somewhat of an increase pertaining to volume on the last minute loads that trickle down, say 2, 3, 4 a.m. But what I've noticed, the highest rates that I've caught on those loads is say 330 to 340 per mile. Now, one thing that I will point out is a lot of what these loads are booked for, we don't get to see due to the Relay AI assistant and the higher performing carriers being able to book loads behind the scenes for rates that Amazon never puts out publicly. I actually got a comment from a subscriber on my last video that was just kind of comparing and contrasting the rates that I post as opposed to the rates that another individual posts within my same market. Now, I don't know exactly who this individual is, but according to that subscriber, my rates are substantially higher than that particular individual's rates who's within the same market. And that would relate back to something that I've touched on multiple times in the past, with patience being a virtue. Oftentimes, you're not going to get the best rate at 4, 5, and 6 p.m. Usually, the higher rates come out after 7:30 p.m. So that took about all of 35 minutes for the staff here to get me loaded. Right now, I got about 111 miles, an hour and 50 minutes to my drop location, at which time that'll leave me about 15 minutes from home. And with that being said, I'm gonna end this video here. As usual, you guys stay safe out there, take it easy, and have a good one. Appreciate you.